everybody. Welcome to Foxboro Rush. If you love this show, first of all, thank you. Secondly, check out Hold My Banner, available on Nessun as well. Ante Campbell and I get you ready for the Celtics chase of Banner 19. Plus, former Celtic great D. Brown stops by and chops it up with the boys. Check out Hold My Banner. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever you get all your podcast needs.
What's up? What's happening? George Balekji here with Travis Thomas. This is Foxboro Rush. T, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. With every passing day, we get closer and closer to the actual NFL draft, and we don't have to keep pontificating and trying to figure out who goes where and mock draft this and mock draft that. No, the real thing just days away, my friend.
You know what I'm excited about, too? No matter what happens with that 4th overall pick, I'm going to be sitting right next to you. You and I will be live on air. By the way, guys, we got Foxboro Rush on the clock. It'll be a special live 2-hour draft special.
That's right.
It'll start on Nessun Nation at 8 p.m. Once Woo Sox game is over on Nessun, we'll switch over to that. But live 2 hours.
Yep.
It may go longer depending what the Patriots do.
Yep.
Nessun Nation on Nessun. We'll also be live streaming it on YouTube. It'll be myself. It'll be Travis Thomas.
Yep.
Casey Hudson will be holding it down with us too. Keegan Stiefel on there as well. Sean McGuire, and you'll hear from NFL draft experts. What I'm excited about that, Trav, is at 4, if the Patriots take a tackle, I laugh at you. If at 4, they take an edge or best available, you laugh at me. No matter what, we're going to have a great time, bro.
So then what's worst case scenario where none of us can laugh at anyone? They just keep trading back and back and back and back and back?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
You guys, hey, latest mock draft will be dropping. Mock draft 5.0. That'll be dropping on Monday. And I've gotten to the point myself, Trav, where I'm like, I'm sticking and picking. I got plenty of trade back opportunities. In the beginning of mocks, I was like, let me draft 12 players. I don't care. Now I'm like, no, let's stick and pick. Draft day, man. We'll see what happens. We'll be talking that a little bit. Connor Rogers, you could catch his full interview on Boston Is Enter the Chat, but we'll be using some of the interviews that we had with him here on Foxboro Rush, talking Will Campbell, Armand Membou, along with plenty of other left tackle prospects as well, including a Kelvin Banks. You'd like to hear his opinion there. Also, what the Pats should do. Then we'll be talking a little bit of Jalon Walker, how that's been catching steam as he could be taken at 4.
Yep.
We'll be looking at the mocks. We'll talk some reports from Mike Giardi, who's plugged in with the Pats that he's put out there. And we'll be taking a look at, breaking it down. Is it worth it? Is it not? Also, Kolton Miller of the Raiders seeking a trade. Is that the left tackle for the Pats that they end up starting week 1? And it could make sense. And we'll finish with the mailbag. Let's get started, though, with everything's saying what makes sense for the Patriots in the first round. They're picking 4th, and everyone knows what the top 3 in the draft are going to be. It's Cam Ward at 1, and then it's going to be Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter 2 and 3.
In whatever order.
The draft starts at 4.
Yes.
What do the Patriots decide to do? Do they trade back? Do they take a left tackle? Do they end up going with the best available and take a Jalon Walker out from under people's legs? Maybe, and it would be a reach, but I'm throwing everything out there. It could be a Mike Green where, he is an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher. We'll figure out tackle. Maybe they trade for Kolton Miller, or do they trade back and we see a team move up for Shedeur Sanders? We could see a team like the Panthers move up, again, to take a Jalon Walker at 4, or maybe a Mason Graham, and then what do the Jaguars do? So there's a lot of scenarios at that. Let's take a look at what the possibility could be of a Will Campbell. So we had Connor Rogers on, and here's what he had to say in his evaluation of the now left tackle out of LSU, who very likely could be a guard.
He's such an interesting player because my argument with Will Campbell is that I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, and I don't think he's a tackle. So it's weird, right? Because there's a lot of praise for him. I think he would transition really smoothly to guard. He's a really, really good run blocker. He's somebody to me that you see how he pass protects with a flat back where he could stall speed to power. He can kind of unlock power from his hips and anchor. But why he's not a tackle to me at the NFL level is that he'll get beat around that outside shoulder for lacking length, and then you'll see him start to set a little wider, and guys can cross his face. If anyone wants, you can turn on the South Carolina tape and see exactly what I'm talking about. And they had a really, really good front. Some of their pass rushers are in this year's draft. And I think when you look at Will Campbell, it comes down to wingspan, like 77 3/8 wingspan. That's 7th percentile all time at tackle. So we're talking about a massive, massive outlier. It doesn't mean he's not a great prospect, because he is, but you can kind of go back to maybe what Peter Skoronski went through a couple years ago, where when Tennessee took him, they said, We're not even going to give him a look at tackle. And maybe Campbell gets a look at tackle where I think he'd survive there, but I want a franchise left tackle with a top 5 pick. I want a guy that could be one of the best tackles, best blindside protectors in the league for years to come. I think Campbell has way more upside at guard.
Connor Rogers of NBC, he's great at what he does evaluating
Fantastic.
the draft. Awesome combo we had with him. But right there, and that's where I keep going back to.
Yep.
At 4, you're going to take someone where you don't know what they're going to play. At 4, there are the teams that have the luxury of going best available. In a way, the Giants, they have that luxury because they could go Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter.
Right.
Both fit into their defensive scheme, and they can figure out the offensive quarterback down the road. In a crazy way, they have that option because also best available isn't a QB at that point. Yeah, the Patriots in theory can go best available, and if that is a Will Campbell, but best available being a guard, like that's what it hurts, and especially at the top 5 where the left tackle could still be open. And what he says too of you want someone not that with the first round pick, you don't want them surviving, you want them thriving, you want them executing.
Bingo.
You want them to get to a second contract, be Pro Bowl level, not
Yes.
talking all pro, just Pro Bowl level.
Yes.
So one of the premier guys at their position, not the best. That's your goal with the first round pick. Yeah, Will Campbell could be that at a guard. He could be a mean guy. He could be a leader in the locker room.
Yeah.
But they need a left tackle team.
I agree. Listen, I think I speak for Pat's Nation when everyone is open to the idea of Will Campbell like 7-11. That's how open everyone is to it. It's just at 4, that's when everyone has the trepidation. Like, I mean, if the guy's a guard, you don't want to take him at 4. I think obviously we learned through experience, unfortunately, with this team, the offensive line was so putrid, you need guys that can do both. You can move them around up and down the offensive line. Will Campbell appears to be that kind of player, but he's more a natural fit at guard. There's no question about it. So if there's a scenario where they can trade back, be it 9, be it 10, be it 11 maybe, and take a Will Campbell, and then you acquire more draft capital in that trade, then that's a big win. That's a great win for the Patriots on night 1 in this draft. It's just about placement. It's where you take him. I feel like if the Patriots take Will Campbell at 4th overall on draft night, which is absolutely possible, you and I both know it, there's going to be a collective groan because no one believes in what you just said, that this guy is some bookend tackle, because he's not. He's a spot starter at best, I think, at tackle. I really do. I think if you get in a pinch, and again, I speak to that versatility, you get in a pinch, he has to do a handful of games at left tackle, no problem. But he's really a guard, George, and you don't want to take that at 4th overall. If you take him at 10th or 9th or so on and so forth, fine, deal. Spot starter at tackle, maybe even short term, move him to his more natural position when you get a real dude in here. No one has a problem with that. But if you take him at 4, that's what this is about. It's not a knock on the player. It's not a knock on Will Campbell. We're all open to having Will Campbell. It's the positioning in which you take him that's the issue.
Yeah, and that's where if he ends up being a guard, you just look at the history. It's so tough, especially, and we'll get into the tackles that are ranked behind him by some evaluators.
Yeah.
If an Armand Membou ends up being a left tackle, I think that's a big thing where whoever they take at 4, it's going to be interesting. Okay, who?
Right.
What's the fit? And who did they pick that player over?
Yes.
And if they look back and Kelvin Banks pans out to be a 10-year starter at left tackle, Armand Membou pans out to be a starting level
gonna be a
left
problem.
tackle.
That's a problem.
Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly.
Yep.
Like that's what the conversation enters into.
Yep.
And especially if they still can't figure out the left tackle spot. So there are a lot of scenarios in it. And Will Campbell's fantastic. 3-year starter at LSU. He literally just turned 21 2 months ago. So he'll be 21 at the start of this NFL season. That's the same thing with an Armand Membou and the same thing with the Kelvin Banks. Mm-hmm. Experienced, young, multi-year starters Banks and Campbell left tackle. Obviously Membou, 2-year starter at right tackle for Mizzou. They still have a way to be molded into a left tackle that can be a Pro Bowl level guy in the NFL. Mm-hmm. But Membou and Kelvin Banks, they have the measurements you want. They're not outliers. Like Will Campbell, when we had Trevor Sikkema on, we spoke about it. I think he is the shortest wingspan.
It's a wingspan?
For a left tackle in the NFL. It might have been 2011 was the earliest since the last time someone had that.
Yeah.
You don't get left tackles at that framework. And as Connor pointed out, and I mentioned it with you and we're running through them, is that Will Campbell's athletic. He has really good footwork. He understands how to compensate for having less length.
Right.
Shorter wingspan, shorter arms. You want arm length because you want your hands on the pass rusher first. You want wingspan because it's tough for you to get around, and it's easier to keep your center of gravity when you're mirroring these guys. But as Connor pointed out, okay, if you're getting beat to the outside shoulder, which is his weakness, then your kick slide, you start to cheat a little bit. And that's when guys cross over his face. Same thing with line games. And the issue is when you get to the NFL and it's 31 of the best pass rushers you're going to see.
Yes.
Everyone but's on the Patriots, right? Week in, week out, these guys are elite. These guys are elite athletes. You got to be sure this guy wins week 1 and week 17 and in the playoffs. Really good player, has a leadership. They want first ever defensive or offensive lineman at LSU to wear the 7 patch.
Yeah.
Because their best player always wears 7. Leonard Fournette, Jalen Ramsey, Tyrann Mathieu, all those guys, right? But with him, it's a different story.
You make a good point, too, about just the competition you're going to be going against as a Patriot, because even in the division, George, outside of the Dolphins, who I'm sure want to improve their defense, you have some really stout defenses. Jets, we know, my God, and the Bills are always serviceable on the defensive end. This reminds me, listen, in Washington, I remember covering a draft. Brandon Sheriff was a guard really coming out of college, and they tried to make him into a tackle, okay? I want to say he was taking top 5, maybe 5th overall in his draft.
I'll back you up on this.
They took him, right? And all the talk at that time was he can play tackle, he could do both. Guess what ended up happening? He was a guard, okay, and a very good one. Now, he was there, I want to say 10 years before he got paid, and I think went to Jacksonville, if I can remember correctly. But that's an example of someone that comes to mind when I think of a Will Campbell. Sheriff, at that time, everyone knew he was a guard, but they tried to make him into a tackle. He gets to Washington, struggles a bit at tackle. They go, you know what? He's a guard. They move him inside. Boom, Pro Bowler.
Right away from day one, moved him inside.
See? So I get trying to put someone in take them out of a box and put them in another one, but sometimes you're in a box for a reason.
Yeah.
I look at Will Campbell, again, that's why I'm a broken record here. It's not a knock on him as a player. We're just saying on the next level, he is what he is. He's going to be a high-end, very good, possibly elite guard. But trying to take him at 4 and justify, we're going to try him at left tackle and see what happens. I just think it's a mistake. I'm not against Will Campbell. I am against Will Campbell at 4th overall.
2015 draft's like an all-time mid draft.
Was that the Sheriff draft?
Yeah, Jameis Winston 1 overall, Marcus Mariota 2, Dante Fowler 3, Amari Cooper 4, worked out.
Where did Sheriff go?
Sheriff went 5th overall to the Redskins and right away was moved inside a right guard. So he took a right guard 5th overall.
Yes.
Leonard Williams,
at the time, George, they were trying to say he could play tackle and no, he can't.
Leonard Williams by the Jets, fine, but ended up he's a journeyman. He's a starter Pro Bowler. Kevin White, Todd Gurley, injuries. Melvin Gordon, 15th overall. Melvin Gordon loved him coming out of college.
I did too.
Man, that's an all-time
He was
draft.
Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
I remember him.
Really good guy. Really good dude. Really good dude. All right, here's Connor Rogers talking about Armand Membou. 21 years old, played right tackle for Mizzou. To me, has the athleticism to move to the left side. But here's what Connor Rogers of NBC Sports has on Membou.
Membou, really explosive lower half. You don't see a lot of guys that play at 330 pounds, and everything in the lower half is that explosive. It's smooth. He can recover because he's such a good athlete, where in the first phase of the rep, a guy kind of surprises him with a move, but okay, I could redirect my hands and kind of be in sync with my lower half at the same time. You watch him in the run game. You turn on the tape against Oklahoma. It's just fun to watch him dump defenders with that strength. I still think he's learning how to use the lower half to anchor. Sometimes he'll get knocked back a little bit towards the pocket, but he's such a naturally strong guy that I feel like, and he's young too. He's going to be 21-year-old rookie. So you feel like that's only going to get better. It's on the right trajectory, but he played right tackle and he was a guard recruit. So is he going to be, for such a young player, ready to be thrown into the fire on the left side, or do you keep him comfortable on the right side? If I was taking Membou, I would want him to be comfortable on the right side. Now, I know New England did the right thing. They went out there and got a veteran in Morgan Moses, who Moses is still playing really, really good football. You just got to make sure his body doesn't break down throughout the season at this age. So it's going to be fascinating to see what is valued with Membou in terms of being maybe a right tackle only, or if teams project him bigger than that.
The NFL draft is under a week away, so what do the Patriots do with the 4th overall pick? Well, tune into Foxboro Rush on the clock a live 2-hour NFL draft special during the first round on Thursday night. Kicking off at 8 p.m. on Nesson Nation and on Nesson's YouTube page, you can hear from draft experts such as PFF's Trevor Sikkema, ESPN's Matt Miller, and NBC's Connor Rogers on what the Patriots should do and about all the prospects. That's Foxboro Rush on the clock, live 2-hour NFL draft special on Nesson Nation from 8 to 9 p.m., then on Nesson immediately after the Woo Sox game, and live streaming on YouTube as well. And bigger than that would be Armand Membou making the slide to left tackle. And this is a guy that's 6'4", 330. So Connor talks about that big base he has.
Yep.
4'9", 140. 330 pounds, by the way. 4'9", 140, 174 10-yard split. 34-inch vertical, 9'7" broad jump, and I think had 31 reps at the bench press. He turned 21 a month ago. Again, this guy will be a 21-year-old rookie.
That's crazy.
But think of that strength and that explosiveness.
Yeah.
And just 21.
Right.
Has not reached his physical peak. Yeah. Now, the knock is, and I have my green and my red. Green good, red bad. Simple as that.
Okay.
It's like anything else in life.
Yeah.
Bad. Undersized by NFL standards. 6'4", 330. Rashawn Slater's 6'4", around 310 when he was coming into the league.
That's right.
Membou has longer arms and a longer wingspan. But I like that Connor points out, and that's what, when you watch him, he's such a natural mover. He's at right tackle. But watching him, and he'd be perfect in a zone run scheme where when he's moving to the outside to try to find someone and just open up lanes for the running back, how fluid he is, laterally moving to his right with his footwork, it's insane. It's just, it's so natural for him. And then Connor also talked about his body control. That's what jumped out to me too. When he is moving with his hands, can start out on the outside. They need to come inside. That's easy. You clean that up. That's coachable.
Yes.
But the athleticism, the natural movement he has all around, and how good he is at recovering, and he does have a big anchor, mean finisher in the run game. He checks all the boxes. It's simple as if the Patriots look at him and go, he can play left tackle, that's the guy they should draft that for.
Yeah, well, you said a key word, George, coachable. That's the thing. This guy is a little more, is it fair to say unpolished? I don't like using the word raw, but unpolished than a Campbell.
Yeah.
But your coaching staff is here for a reason. Yep. Marone and all these guys are so highly touted, right?
Yeah.
Get this kid and then coach him up is what I hear. Mm-hmm. You know, when I hear Connor talk about that, I'm just like, well, that's the guy you take because you get him in and then you trust your coaching staff to get him where he needs to be to give you what you need. If he is that, you know, again, I hate saying raw, but if he's someone that just needs refining, that's a better word. If he's someone that just needs refining, but he checks every other box, then I would rather take him than a Will Campbell. But I still come back to at four, but I could get behind Membou at 4 a little more than I could Campbell because Campbell, we know in the end, is likely a guard. Membou, in the end, needs some refining, needs some coaching, but he could absolutely be that bookend that we're looking for if everything lines up. So at 4, if you're drafting for potential, that guy, his potential's to the moon. So it justifies the number 4 pick a little more for me than a Campbell would. Does that make sense, George?
Yeah. And because I think if you think he can play left tackle, you take him. You don't think twice. And it's with the measurables. Again, I bring up that he's quote-unquote undersized. Jason Peters, 6'5", just under 330 pounds when he was coming into the league. His arm length, 33 and an eighth inch, his arm length. Membou has longer arms, weighs more.
And Peters was
carries
damn
weight
good.
differently, too, has a much bigger base.
Peters was damn good.
Peters was
so
one of the
Slater.
all-time offensive tackles.
Yeah.
Played in the game. I think he just retired this past year.
I think so.
And he was drafted in 2004.
That's right.
Now, the durability, too, you don't have to worry about it with Membou.
Yeah.
But
good point.
His longer arms, 33 and a half inch. He ran a faster 40 and a 10-yard split and had a bigger vertical jump. Mm-hmm. Everything but the broad. Jason Peters beat him in the broad. But that's where you're getting with the athleticism and the explosiveness.
Yes.
And Armand Membou, you get into Jason Peters. And just 21 years old. I think he has athleticism to move to the left side. Watching him play, watching his tape, it's just insane how he moves his feet, how easily. And what's great with him is he actually is veteran processing when figuring out line games, stunts, blitzes, whatever's happening to recover.
Yes.
And also just with his athleticism, he stays centered. It's all about mirroring pass rushers. You need to slow them down. Give your quarterback 3 seconds. But then have the talent that you could win for another half to a second and more. And move guys in the run game. He does that. But we haven't seen it done at left tackle. Now, here's a guy you brought up, and I love that you asked Connor about this.
Yeah.
Kelvin Banks out of Texas.
Yes.
3-year starter in the Big 12 and SEC. Only missed 1 game for the Longhorns. Started since he was 18 years old. for Texas, who plays some of the toughest competition in the country. Here's Connor's eval on Kelvin Banks.
Well, I love that you brought him up because I'm asking the same questions. I have him as the 13th overall player in the draft and the second tackle, only behind Membou, and it just doesn't feel like it's trending that way in the mock drafts with Banks. And nothing changed. This is somebody that he started at left tackle since his freshman season for Texas. He was playing left tackle for Texas, ages 18 to 20 years old. That is a remarkable feat when you look at the high level he was doing it at. He's a good athlete. He's got long enough arms. He's really smart. He's a hard worker. You watch him in the run game, it's a little Jekyll and Hyde. The highs are amazing. He could detonate defenders when his hands land correct. But I said this to him at the combine. I said, sometimes you got to dial it in, and you have those whiffs, and he's open to that. Like, there are a lot of whiffs on tape where you got to play controlled as well. And when you're such a good athlete at that size, that's going to happen. It's like you almost get too excited to absolutely plant someone that's 100 pounds or 70 pounds lighter than you. So I think Banks has put out really good pass protection tape. I don't know if this is a case of the league being quiet on him because somebody wants to take him higher than where he's projected to go. Like, would a Miami take him at 13? Would a Dallas take him at 12? Would he go even earlier than that? You look at New Orleans taking Fuanga last year. Would they say, we're going to double down on offensive line and go back to that well? And even the Jets at 7, although I don't think that's going to happen. But I think Banks has been overlooked throughout this process, which is kind of remarkable when you look at how young he is, the battle-tested nature of his game. And if New England, which I do think they're going to be answering those phones, I think we all feel that way to say, hey, is there a trade for us that makes a lot of sense? If New England moved back a handful of spots and Banks is still on the board with Membou and Campbell already gone, that's not the same level of downgrade to me that everybody else is making it out to be.
I think that was a great question you asked him to bring him up. And it was because that was something, too, I was wondering of. We've heard all about Will Campbell. We've heard all about Armand Membou. Josh Simmons, a guy that I've been hammering.
Yeah.
Josh Connerly.
Yep.
Kelvin Banks is just lost in the shuffle.
Yes. I wonder, and this is more of a question than it is a definitive statement, but I wonder if Kelvin Banks is the safer of the three we're talking about. And here's why I'm sort of posing this to you. Will Campbell, we both acknowledge, a bit undersized, more likely a guard, right? Membou, we just talked about it. I don't like to use the word raw, just needs refinement, needs to be coached up a bit. Banks, to me, feels a lot like maybe the safer bet here. Now, I again, broken record Trav, I don't love him at 4.
Yeah.
But you heard Connor mention there. 7, Jets, 9, Saints. These are teams that are going to be calling maybe about a quarterback, maybe about moving up to take an offensive lineman. So is this a scenario where you could move back to those spots, 7, 9, in that range and get him?
Yeah.
Maybe. But I just wonder if Banks, all these guys we talk about, is Banks actually the safest pick that the Patriots could make? Because you don't have any of those questions with him that you do the other guys. And so if the Patriots can trade back a bit, get more draft assets, draft capital, and get a Kelvin Banks, that is a big win on night 1 of the draft.
What you would love is that Jalon Walker, Mason Graham, Ashton Ginty, teams interested them at 4. I think it would be the first 2 guys I named.
Yeah.
And Shedeur Sanders.
Maybe a quarterback. Yep.
And then you have a team like the Carolina Panthers that want to move up and get a Mason Graham to leapfrog the Jaguars because the Jaguars need a Mason Graham.
Yes.
Same thing where the Jaguars could scoop a Jalon Walker and just have insane athletes between Trayvon Walker,
they could.
Joshua Hines-Allen, and also then you have Jalon Walker just being a mercenary behind the line of scrimmage figuring it out.
Right.
Carolina seems like the fit because the best prospects there are defenders. The Raiders at 6, to move up 2 spots, they have Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby. But if they want a Jalon Walker again and they hear the Jaguars are going to scoop him because a Mason Graham wouldn't make sense to them. Now it's a team that already lost a 3rd-round pick. How much more are they going to give up? But that's where the scenarios come in. And New Orleans, if they want Shedeur, if they want Jackson Dart because they think someone else will scoop him up, that's what the big play is.
Yeah.
To your point, though, with what you made of the safest pick, if you project him to be a left tackle, then that would be the highest floor. Maybe not the highest ceiling.
Yes.
But that's the highest floor.
That's what I'm saying.
This is going to be a long-term rebuild for the Pats. Best available, in my eyes, would be an Armand Membou with ceiling-wise.
Yes.
Insane athlete, very young.
Agreed.
Just so good. But His ceiling coincides with him being a left tackle for your right-handed quarterback. If they were the Falcons with Michael Penix, who cares? Go Membou, right? That'd make it easy.
Right.
Highest floor, though, that's a Kelvin Banks because he is a left tackle. Been doing it since he was 21. Long frame, quick out of stance.
Great tape.
Played in a really complex offense in Texas.
Yep.
Yeah, can get over eager, could be off balance, leans forward, bends at the waist instead of his knees.
Again, coaching,
and can fall on
George.
his face. Exactly.
Again, coaching.
Muscle memory. He's just 21.
Yep.
High ceiling at tackle or guard. Some project him inside because of lack of length, but 33.5-inch arms, 84 plus wingspan. These are my notes. That's a framework of an offensive tackle.
I think he's the
Athletic and
safest
nimble
pick.
for big size, massive overall frame. Floor is high quality starting left tackle. Ceiling is all pro guard or tackle.
I think he's the safest pick.
Starting left tackle. We'll talk about a starting left tackle the Patriots can trade for in just a few minutes. But hey, make sure to catch when the NFL draft is going down. It's under a week away. What do the Patriots do with the 4th overall pick? We'll tune into Foxboro Rush on the clock, a live 2-hour NFL draft special during the first round on Thursday night. Kicking off at 8 p.m. on Nesson Nation and Nesson YouTube. George Balekji, Travis Thomas, and plenty of guests will watch the draft with you, breaking down every pick and diving into the Patriots' first overall selection. Hear from NFL draft experts from PFF's Trevor Sikkema, ESPN's Matt Miller, and NBC's Connor Rogers on what the Patriots should do. That's Foxboro Rush on the clock, live 2-hour NFL draft special on Nesson Nation from 8 to 9, then on Nesson immediately following the conclusion of the Woo Sox game, but also live streaming, no commercial breaks on YouTube. So Connor took us through the top 3 tackle prospects in his eyes. Here's also when we asked him, what should the Patriots do?
I would love to get out of this pick if I can, because it's a plateauing of the talent, right?
Yeah.
We, the consensus is that Carter and Travis Hunter are the best players in the draft, and they're kind of near a category of their own. The player from a talent perspective that I could talk myself into for New England at 4, but I don't think it's a dire need anymore, was Mason Graham. I think Mason Graham is a really good player. He's a stout run defender. He's a power pass rusher. But New England, I'm not worried about New England's interior, their defensive line. Now, they know more about where Barmar's at than us, but they've spent money on this group. And I think Vrabel can take depth defensive linemen later in this draft and develop them, where I don't think New England's a team that needs to take Graham at 4. So you look at it, if I like Tet McMillan a lot, and I'm confused why people have kind of soured on him as the best receiver in this draft if you take into account that Hunter isn't a full-time receiver. If you did, I'd say Hunter is the best receiver in this draft. So if you're New England, do you get out of 4, and is there a team that wants to come up? Now, the question is, what do they want to come up for? Is it Mason Graham? Is it Tyler Warren? The question, is it Armand Membou as well? If a team thinks they need a right tackle, say San Francisco wanted to come up from 11 and get a player like Armand Membou at 4, and New England goes back to 11. Is that a scenario where we talked about Kelvin Banks there? That makes sense. Do you still take Tet McMillan because he complements what Stephon Diggs does? You need a ball winner, right? You need somebody that's going to actually help Drake May on those contested catch situations as well. Or is that too early? I don't think it's early for McMillan. I think it'd be a really, really good fit. Do you honestly sit there and go, we just have the board a certain way? We think a Jalon Walker or a Tyler Warren is warranted in the spot as one of the best players in the draft. I have hesitations with Walker because I just don't know what he fully is. And then with Warren, I know he's a great player, but do you need to take a tight end in the top 5? It feels unlikely that that's kind of where the league is trending, as great as he is. So that's why I come back to a trade making the most sense for New England every time.
So we'll talk a little bit how a trade back can make sense. I understand it with Connor, and he says, again, we were throwing them out there. If they go to 8 with Carolina, you still have all the tackles in front of you, I believe. Maybe the Jets take a left tackle, but Jaguars, Raiders, they won't.
Right.
Raiders might. We'll get into that.
Raiders might.
Jets could.
Jets could.
But as Connor, we were asking him, he thinks they go Tyler Warren out of Penn State, the tight end. Carolina won't. And at 8, you should still have all the left tackles. At worst, Membou or Campbell are off the board.
Yes.
And then you still have your picks. If you go to 11, maybe you're missing out on Campbell, Membou, Banks, or Campbell, Membou, Josh Simmons. You can still take, say, Banks or Simmons in that scenario.
Yep.
But if they go with the Tet McMillan and then with the draft compensation they pick up, because I think if you move back from 4 to 11, you're getting a second and a third in this current draft and maybe a future third as well, right?
Yeah.
Maybe future second. That's what gives you their artillery with 3 thirds and now 2 seconds to move back into the end of the first. Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, Arante Ursary, where they go at Tet McMillan top 12 right before the Cowboys make sense. They cannot go further back than 12. Or at worst, to go with the Colston Loveland, who has a really high ceiling as a pass catcher.
Well, you locked in on a lot of players. You locked in on a lot of where they could move draft position-wise. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. The best case scenario, period, regardless of who they take and where, is for this team to trade back. It really is. And I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's like I don't even know who I am anymore because I hate all those years of Belichick trading back drove me nuts. And I wasn't even in the market, and it drove me nuts. I can't stand trading back. But if we're being honest, this is a best case scenario for the Patriots because there is no knockdown, lockdown. That's the guy to take at 4. You know, think back to just last year when we were doing this exercise, George. It was like Drake May, if he's on the board, you got to take him at 3. And luckily for us, he was, okay? It's not the case this season. That's why I will never, ever forgive Gerard Mayo for ruining my Travis Hunter dreams. All you had to do was lose to the Bills,
Jets.
and we wouldn't be having any of these conversations. I would already have my Travis Hunter jersey on back order, ready to rock. But no, now we're sitting here at 4, and look, Hunter's going to be gone. Abdul Carter's going to be gone. Just trade back. Will Campbell's cool, not at 4. Membou's cool, not at 4. Kelvin Banks is cool, not at 4. I like Ty Warren, not at 4. All these players we're talking about, there's that caveat. It's like a dark cloud hanging over us, just waiting to rain on us. It's not at 4. I don't care what player you name, even Ted McMillan. It's like, yeah, I like
rich
him,
at 4.
but I like him better at 11
Especially
or 9.
when you have the need, when they have that need.
I just trade back. That really, if we're being honest, that is the best case scenario for the Patriots night 1. Trade back, get more capital, because you do have a lot of holes in this roster that you can address as the draft goes on all weekend, but just move back. How far back is a question, but I think all of us can acknowledge the best play here is to move back in this draft.
All right, we're going to talk a scenario because there is a left tackle out there that's looking possibly for a new team. I like everything you stated.
All right.
There have been the reports from The Athletic, and this coincides with trading back, so I have a vision here.
Okay.
Kolton Miller, 7-year NFL starter, all at left tackle for the Las Vegas Raiders. Per The Athletic, starting left tackle Kolton Miller hasn't reported to the Raiders' voluntary offseason program as he seeks a contract extension. Miller is going into the final year of a 3-year contract extension he signed in 2021. 7-year starter, 96 or better pass block efficiency the last 6 seasons, which is really good.
Yes.
9 games missed in 7 years.
Woo.
9 games missed. Will be 30.
Okay.
And this past season was a quote-unquote down year. 6 sacks allowed weeks 1 to 9. After their week 10 bye, 1 sack allowed at that point. Missed about 80% of training camp coming back from his offseason shoulder surgery. I think it was a torn labrum. Obviously, was still dealing with that and getting acclimated. Came back from that bye, was fresh. This is a guy that wants to get paid. And look, this is what can be dealt at this point. You trade for him, $45 million at signing. That beats Ronnie Stanley by 1 year.
Okay.
$50 million total guaranteed. That's the same number Dan Moore got. Maybe since he's the most recent guy to get paid and you put it a 4-year deal, fine. $45 million at signing, $52.5 million total guaranteed over 4 years. And you're a high-level starting left tackle. Now, what's the trade price? Laramie Tunsil was just traded for a 2025 third-round pick and a 7th, a 2026 second, and a 4th. In this draft, you will not find a better player than Kolton Miller on the offensive line at 38. It could be Ante Ursary. Could be. It could be Donovan Jackson. It could be Josh Connerly. They're prospects. Kolton Miller at just 30 with a clean bill of health. Now we'll see how their shoulder looks, but that's a guy that would make sense to get rid of a second-round pick for, and you'd have to add something. The fact that Tunsil was for a current 3rd and 7th, what's a current 2nd and 7th, and then a future 3rd or future 4th?
Man.
That should get the deal done. The one issue, the Raiders have $42.5 million in cap space. They can easily extend them.
And they don't want to.
You just signed Geno Smith, though. You get this with Pete Carroll's in the building. You're figuring out your people.
They have a new regime.
They extended Max Crosby. They gave money to Christian Wilkins, of course, last offseason. I think it's assessing who are the guys who got in the building, and then they get a Kolton Miller done.
Well,
I don't think they let him walk. He's a starting left tackle.
Yes.
You would trade him for an Ante Ursary, which could make sense in a team rebuilding process.
That's right.
But he's going to be a guy starting for you on the left side for the next 4 years.
Yeah, it could also be a wait and see, too. We want to make sure he stays healthy, and then we'll pay him. I don't put too much stock into that. Let's also remember, this is the Raiders we're talking about, okay? I don't give a damn about Pete Carroll. They are morons from the top to the bottom. As my late grandma would say, from the rooter to the tutor. They're all idiots. So I'm not going to put any stock on the Raiders as an organization. What I would say is, what the hell are you waiting for, Patriots? This should have already been done.
Yeah.
I'd have been traded for this guy. Now, if it happens draft night, great. But I completely agree with you. This dude is better than any of these prospects we're talking about. And this is a move. This is what's driven me crazy up until this point this offseason, especially in free agency, where it's like, where's the aggression for the offensive line? Like, how come Morgan Moses doesn't do it for me? Sorry. Like, go out and do something. Go make trades. We've seen all these trades and moves and moving and shaking for the offensive linemen in this league, and the Patriots haven't done any of it. This is another example. What's the problem? Go get this guy. I get he's coming off an injury. He's 30. But listen, he's in his prime right now.
Yeah.
So in theory, you're going to get 4 or 5 more really high-end years from this dude. Mm-hmm. Trade for him, pay him, get him in here. What's the problem? And then still, as the draft goes on, address offensive line. I just don't understand the lack of the sense of urgency from the Patriots on the offensive line. Now, we'll see what happens draft night. Maybe they don't trade for him and they take 3 offensive linemen, then I'll shut up. But this is another example where I'm just like, I feel like they're sitting on their hands. Why not go get this guy, George? I don't get it.
What I would love is,
it's already been done.
You find someone that's friends with Kolton Miller, right?
Oh,
just friends.
Are we infiltrating here?
Yeah.
All right.
You know, Kolton Miller from Redwood City, California. No idea. Went to UCLA. Perfect.
There you go.
Easily. You can find a UCLA connection there.
Yep.
All right, cool. Maybe someone that was on the Raiders at some point. You know? Mm-hmm. And you call him and go, Kolton. Mm-hmm. It's convo. Hey, how's everything? Oh, cool. How's the kids? Wife? Good. UCLA. What do you think of the Bruins season? Yeah. Hey, by the way, the Patriots told me they'd give you $53 million total guaranteed. Ooh. Don't agree to a contract with the Raiders. Demand a trade, and we'll get you.
Ooh.
Drive down the price. That's my fantasy.
I like that.
Say the Patriots can swing and make this trade.
Yeah.
Say it's pick 38, their second round pick.
Deal.
They have 2/3.
See ya.
Here's my dream vision.
Okay.
38 and one of your thirds. Deal's done right there. Because when you go to the Raiders with that deal, they then have picks 6, 37, 38, 68, and say you give them 77.
Okay.
And that's what a rebuilding team needs.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with the scenarios we gave them, you then trade back from 4 to 11 with San Fran, or maybe 4 to 9 with New Orleans.
Okay.
You take a Tet McMillan. You have your left tackle. You have your wide receiver 1. You're going to gain an extra second and third in those scenarios to move that far back.
Love it.
Regain that second round pick. Regain that third. And then you still build there. And that's when you can start going draft best available.
Yes.
Kolton Miller, left tackle. Tet McMillan. Maybe third round, go Travion Henderson.
You could do anything you want. You already won the draft. What you just laid out, literally, they won the draft.
With those picks, they got a starting left tackle.
That's right.
Their wide receiver 1, who can develop into a wide receiver 1. Connor Rogers loved Tet McMillan too, and build out from there. Or they just, at 11, it's not Tet. Maybe it could be a Tyler Warren if he slips.
It could be Warren.
They go best available. Mike Green, an actual edge instead of a Jalon Walker.
Hey, don't mess around. At 11, George, don't roll your eyes. If he's still on the board, they could go my guy. They could.
Ashton Ginty.
They could.
Have to see how that offensive line is. And they still have needs. And in that second, I would not be astonished if they go Arante Ursary.
I wouldn't either.
Develop behind a Morgan Moses.
That's right.
And then you got both your tackles.
They
still need help on the interior.
They would win the draft in this scenario
Trade
you
back
just
in,
laid
go
out.
with the Tyler Booker. But do they like Leda Robinson?
Yep.
Go with the center. Ooh,
look at you. GM George. You are in your element. This is the best week of your life, isn't it? Leading up to the draft. This is what you were made for, I think.
You know the Family Guy.
This is your purpose.
You know the Family Guy skit where Cookie Monster's has a lighter under a spoon that has cookie dough on it?
Yes.
That'll be me the day after the draft.
That's you.
I need it more. I need it back.
Unbelievable.
Hey, if you want all this brain work, I'm not going to say it's Galaxy brain. It's a lot of stuff going on up here. Well, no, the NFL draft is under a week away. So what do the Patriots do with the 4th overall pick? Tune in to Foxboro Rush on the Clock, a live 2-hour NFL draft special during the first round on Thursday night, kicking off at 8 p.m. on Nesson Nation and Nesson YouTube, then 9 p.m. on Nesson immediately following the Woo Sox game's conclusion. Hear from NFL draft experts such as PFF's Trevor Sikkema, ESPN's Matt Miller, and NBC's Connor Rogers on what the Patriots should do and all the prospects in the draft. That's Foxboro Rush on the Clock Live 2-hour NFL draft special. Nesson Nation starting at 8 p.m. Live streaming on Nesson's YouTube. No commercial breaks on the live stream. So I keep bringing up Jalon Walker because we've seen Mike Giardi, who's plugged in, knows the Pats really well. In a mock, he had Jalon Walker going at 4. And here's what Mike Giardi wrote. Quote, "You didn't see this coming, did you? Walker may be the best player in the draft, not named Hunter or Carter, and he has a lot of fans at one Patriot place. Nothing the Pats did on the defensive side of the ball in free agency would prevent Vrabel and co. from tabbing the 21-year-old with his combination of athleticism, surprising power in his 245-pound frame, and the highest football character, because the Georgia staff loves him.
Yep.
Is he an edge, off-ball linebacker? He split reps for the Bulldogs, but the more I've watched his tape, the more I foresee him on the outside for the Pats." Now, Giardi's right, because this is a guy I think ends up on the edge as well.
I do too.
Wasn't fantastic as an off-ball linebacker. Could be a Swiss Army knife. In Mock Draft 5.0, I compared him to a John Wick, and it makes sense. Make sure to check that out Monday when that drops. This is a guy that I think ends up having a long-term career on the edge.
Yeah.
All right, Harold Landry, Milton Williams,
Ooh.
Christian Barmore,
Oh, my
Keon
God.
White,
Oh.
Jalon Walker.
Oh,
And Jalon Walker needs to improve in his run defense from the edge spot. But
No
the
problem.
thing is, 6'1", 245,
Yeah.
short arm, short wingspan, twitchy athlete all around. I think he just moves like an alien. He moves like he's not on this planet.
yeah.
He understands leveraging gaps and angles against pass rushers.
Football player.
Overcompensating for his short stature.
Football
I'm a
player.
short king, by the way.
Yep.
Violent, heavy hands, which you want in run defense. Elite closing speed. Running backs, athletic quarterbacks, Josh Allen. Undersized for normal edge rusher. Tweener between a linebacker and edge. He gets swallowed up by offensive tackles. Not great in coverage. This guy's an edge rusher. My issue, we just spoke about how you don't draft a tweener in Will Campbell.
Yeah.
So you're going to draft a tweener in Jalon Walker?
Right.
It's lying season, T.
Yeah, it is.
You want to up the stock of Jalon Walker as much as possible. So the Panthers,
Yeah.
maybe the Bears, maybe the Saints,
Maybe.
they think he won't fall to them. Maybe even the Raiders. They got Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. They have the flexibility to add a Jalon Walker, especially if they sign Kolton Miller, right?
Yeah.
That's what they can work with. I think this is driving up his stock. I don't think he's in play at 4.
No.
If you're going to pass on a guy that, hey, at least will be, at best, an all-pro guard,
Yeah.
you're going to get a guy that might not be an edge rusher. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he's like a situational pass rusher
Yeah.
almost. Listen, I think you left out all the attributes you named are spot on, but I think you left out the biggest one. I know he's a Georgia Bulldog, but this kid has dog all in him, and that's why I think Mike Vrabel is in love with this kid.
Coach's son, too. His dad's a
Yeah,
defensive
there you
coordinator
go.
at the college level.
By the way, I'm with you. 4 doesn't make sense, but this is a guy in a trade back scenario who's very much in play, and I would not be shocked at all if you and I on draft night are talking about this kid and they took him at 9 or 10, 11, wherever. He is that good, and I think he will be that good in this league. I do think it will translate, and some of this stuff is branding too. These Georgia kids, man, especially in that position, they are just made for the NFL because they pretty much play NFL football every Saturday. So I think he'll be ready to go. I'm a big fan of his. I have understood why his name keeps rising up the draft board, but I will not love it if they take him at 4. As I've said for a lot of these prospects, this is why the best case scenario is to trade back. But he is maybe at the top of the list for the names that we're talking about if they do trade back, and he is available. I believe in him. I would love to see him in a Patriots uniform, but I want no parts of him at number 4 overall. None. And I love the kid.
I love his tape. It's tough for me to stomach a tweener. Where
At
this
4.
offensive line is so
At
putrid.
4,
At
George.
4.
At 4.
But that trade back, again, he could end up being a Patriot.
Yes.
I don't think top 5.
We're not against that.
And
but,
I think
but
it's, again,
top
you
5 we are.
Drive up the stock so a team
That's
moves
right.
up and they accrue
That's
picks.
right.
All right, let's get to the mailbag. We got some good ones.
All right.
Our guy, Owen6114. Love the show, guys. Thanks, Owen.
Thanks. Oh, dog.
I have Jalon Walker as my edge number 8 in my rankings. He reminds me of Isaiah Simmons or Zaven Collins. Cardinals got ridiculed for those versatile linebacker picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was them twice.
Yeah.
I fear Walker would be more of the same. I agree with this in a way, Owen. Not in a way. I agree with the in-between linebacker. And that's, again, wherever you put him. I think as an edge, this
Collins
guy...
was huge, though, wasn't he? Am I wrong?
Who's that?
Zaven Collins is a monster. He's
not
like,
as athletic either. And Isaiah Simmons,
Yeah, look him
athletic, slender frame, though. And he's just bounced around the league. He's with the Giants now, but just didn't pan out for where they took him. Look up Zaven Collins.
I am. I sort of, in my memory, I feel like he was the opposite. He was a big, brooding type that couldn't move. But I could be wrong.
And that's where...
Yeah, 6'4", 260. Jeez, he was a monster.
Right. And we have Jalon Walker, 6'1", 245.
Yeah.
He's not
that's
edge
not
8,
the
though.
same.
I think it's Abdul Carter's 1, Mike Green is 2.
Yeah.
And then Jalon Walker falls into edge 3 right there. I don't think he's edge 8.
I agree.
I would take him over on Michael Williams. I think it's more fit. James Pierce Jr.,
Yeah.
questionable character.
Oh, and you're sleeping on Jalon Walker a little bit.
But I
you got to put
understand
some
the
respect on his name.
I understand the tweener one.
He is a tweener.
Owen, appreciate you enjoying the show, A. B, appreciate you bringing the different perspective and opinion into this. Drew, F4M. Love the show. Thanks, Drew. And I'm excited if we get Campbell. Man, he's a dog. I love watching his film because he just bodies people, and I can't wait to have him protecting Drake May. Let's go, Pats. Heart emoji at the end. I'm not having the graphic, but there's a heart emoji in that comment on YouTube. Yes, he is a dog. He's not a dog, Drew. He's a mother effing dog. There are football guys. There are dogs. There are mother effers, and then there are mother effing dogs.
Yeah.
Will Campbell's a mother effing dog. But at a guard, it's tough at 4. That's what I always sit with. But in a trade back scenario, and again, who else do you acquire throughout this offseason? Throw it out there. Who cares? You rebuild this offensive line. Kolton Miller, left tackle. Will Campbell, left guard, who you take, say, you stick top 9. Then you have Grant Bradbury at center. You still have Mike Onwenu at right guard and Morgan Moses at right tackle. Your left side's taken care of for the next 4 to 5 years with your right-handed quarterback. Kolton Miller, durable. He's a dog. Quotations taken care of.
Well, I also love that Drew, in the same thing, he said, hey, I love watching him. He bodies people, and then he gives us a heart emoji. I think it shows Drew's versatility. In the same breath, he bodies people.
He's a savage.
Love you guys.
Yeah,
love.
he's a savage.
Yeah,
but he's
savage
a lover.
but love. I'm
Drew,
a gentle savage.
Drew,
I
you're a
appreciate
guy,
you, Drew.
The True Tie. What up, True Tie?
What up, True Tie?
Thank you. Someone finally talking about Kelvin Banks. Hashtag hook him.
You're welcome, True Tie. That would be yours truly, because no one's putting respect on his name. I am telling you right now, True Tie, you and I are boys, because in my opinion, if the Patriots move back in this draft, we'll keep them top 10, back into the top 10, and take a Kelvin Banks and pick up other draft capital for later, it's a win. I actually now... I've talked myself into this, George. This is what I want. This is my best case scenario for the Patriots.
Let me hear it. I'm taking notes.
I just told you. Trade back, take Kelvin Banks, and then fill out your roster the rest of the draft. That's it. That's a win. Back into the top 10. As much as I love Tyler Warren, and I've talked about him, I love McMillan. I love all these guys. But now, because of True Tie, I want Kelvin Banks. Trade back, take Kelvin Banks quietly. No one's even talking about him. Just take him under the radar. Take him at 10 or 11, whatevs.
Yeah.
And then just have a great draft the rest of the way.
Cool. Put a pin in that. Let's talk about that for Wednesday's show. You bring your best case scenario in the draft. I'll bring mine. Here we go. I like this. Trade back. I took notes.
All right.
It's 75 Cent Slurpee. Awesome name. That's the handle, bro. I've always been a Membou guy if we miss Carter and Hunter. Even then, Moses only delays a year. Yes. Simmons is still my pick for left tackle. He's talking about Josh Simmons there.
Yep.
And if we think he's going to fall into the late teens, 20s, maybe see if we can trade up and grab potential bookends going forward. Moses would also be a phenomenal mentor, 1,000% yes there, to 2 young tackles in building routines and habits. It's 75 Cent Slurpee. Love the name. Love the vision.
Is anything 75 cents anymore?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anything?
At 4, you go Armand Membou.
Yeah.
Strategically, with a second and 2/3, trade back into the first. Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, Arante Ursary. And then you have those tackles. You know what you do, man? Wherever Morgan Moses is living, the house to his left and the house to his right, that's where those guys live. Because Morgan Moses wakes up at 4:30 a.m., wakes his sons up, as he said. His sons go knock on their doors, ring the doorbells until they wake up.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going. It's time. They're in the building with him every day at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
He teaches them how to be pros. I would love that.
I'm fine with it. 75 Cent Slurpee. Listen, I'll be honest. In your scenario, I'm with it because I've been waiting, and I said this earlier in the episode, I've been waiting for the Patriots to show a sense of urgency for this offensive line, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it with trades. I didn't see it with free agency. So in your scenario, we would see it on draft night, and they would address that, and they would, in your words, get 2 bookends for the future. I would be fine with it. But my God, just do something. That's where I'm at. Offensive line-wise, just do something that we can all sleep better at night. So 75-cent Slurpee, that scenario you laid out would certainly help me.
Were you a big Slurpee guy growing up, slushy?
Who wasn't, bro?
Right? Would you go to Sev's? What was your thing? Local
Sev's, hell yeah.
Packanack Deli for me growing up.
Oh, so Jersey of you.
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey.
So Jersey.
Wayne, New Jersey. Packanack Lake is like my neighborhood. You can see the area. George Washington Middle School, you'd walk down the steep hill.
Oh.
Man, what was that called? Maybe Hemlock. No. Simmons. I could be wrong. At the bottom, Packanack Lake Deli. It's also growing up before I was even in middle school or high school. 6th grade, all right, that's middle school. You get the freedom of riding your bike wherever you want. You could go beyond your block. You got $2. I would always get Twizzlers and a Slurpee.
Good living. Good living. Now, that can't get you anything.
Dude, you know me, man.
I know.
I respect anyone that has children right now.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
You're telling me. I have 2.
You want to get your kid a bike? Hey, it's going to be like $700.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, I want to go get a slushie over at the Packanack Lake Deli. All right, here's $6.
Yeah.
Every day?
I told my son last night, go get a job. He's like, Dad, I'm 8. Like, it's not my problem. You better figure it out, kid.
And then what you did is whatever chair, his like little chair that your son sits in, I know it. You just pushed it over. You're like,
Yeah, and get a job.
My point exactly. You're 8.
Life's hard, man. You got to teach him.
He lives in a state. I think, Duncan, you can start legally working at 13.
I'm ready.
Gosh,
I can't wait.
Your son's going to hate me. Mr. George, you're no longer my favorite uncle. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hey, make sure, again, next Thursday, Foxboro Rush.
Yeah.
Live draft special. We'll have Nessa Nation and Nesson. But also, Monday, Mock Draft 5.0 dropping with Keegan Stiefel and I. We took a edge rusher at 4.
Oh.
But more of a John Wick type guy
Oh,
as well. Check that
nice
out.
tease.
Double T GB. We'll see you guys next time.